you for listening. Thank you for downloading. You're with us here at the Clock End Talk, an Arsenal podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at @clockend_talk. Each and every week I'm joined by two blokes, and how are we, Tony?
Yeah, I'm shattered.
Shattered?
Big long day. Knackered, tired.
Oh, okay.
Big long day trip to Newcastle and back in the same day, which was not really too welcome. And then up early AM for boxing. So, yeah, very tired, but, I mean, got the 3 points, so it's kind of perked me up a bit.
And you're here, mate. You're here talking to us.
Yeah, that's made me more tired.
Oh, nice cunt, aren't you? And Schwinn, how are you, buddy?
Not too different, I'm afraid. A bit knackered myself. But you know what? As you said, Tess, 3 points, so that did make me a bit perky.
Oh, what? Not talking to me makes you perky?
That as well, but when we get the 3 points, then, that does help a bit.
Fair call. Okay, boys, so I was going to dedicate this podcast to Granit Xhaka, I think. That's the only way we can move forward here. Tony, we'll get your line-up thoughts, mate.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was the same as Cardiff. The only change I was possibly expecting was Torreira, but I did say after the Cardiff game and on last week's podcast that obviously it was international break dependent, and he came off injured during the international break. It didn't look like there was anything wrong with him, but only they know behind the scenes what they've seen. So I wasn't surprised at all. The same way I wouldn't have been surprised if it was exactly the same, but Torreira in for Guendouzi.
Schwinn?
I was a bit surprised. I mean, not for Torreira, because I did assume that he's not going to be starting against Newcastle. I have changed my mind on that in terms of whether he's going to start against Everton. I think he's ready in that regard. But I was expecting Mkhitaryan to be in there. I thought Newcastle were going to sit quite deep and we'd need a bit more incision. And Mkhitaryan over Ramsey would be my go if you need someone to break lines and be able to find that killer ball. But that wasn't the case. But was a bit surprised to see an unchanged lineup.
Mm-hmm. Since you touched on Ramsey, I'm going to dive straight into him. I thought he was pretty poor, Tony.
Yeah, he didn't have his best game. Well, he didn't have a good game by a long stretch of imagination. He wasn't good. I don't know. I mean, I've not heard anything, but when he came off, he obviously came off injured, and he was signalling to the bench for quite some time before that he wasn't feeling right. So I don't know what's wrong with him and if it's something that may have impacted his whole performance. But we just saw nothing from him the whole game, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. The one thing with the lineup, and just before we continue on, and we talk about it later with the live callers, which I'll edit in, but obviously Guendouzi started over Torreira, Tony, and then Torreira comes on at half time. Emery's experimenting, obviously. Guendouzi started I think he started every match, hadn't he? Yeah. So he started every match. But do you think was a fitness thing for Torreira, or obviously we all agree he's going to be starting every match from here on in, I can only imagine. But this was probably Guendouzi's last starting game, and what do you think the thought process was behind starting him?
Yeah, as I said, we don't know how fit Torreira was. We also, obviously, in the 2 week break, Guendouzi's been at the club the whole time, so he's been training the whole time, whereas Torreira's obviously been in Uruguay or wherever they played, so with different players. So it's a little bit of integration there, but I agree. I think that's probably the last time. I wouldn't be surprised if Guendouzi takes up a place in the Europa League and the Carabao Cup sides. Obviously, we've got Europa League Thursday and then Carabao Cup the week after. And Torreira comes in as the first team midfielder from now on. I don't, in terms of what I would call the first team games like the league, I think that'll be Torreira's last start for a while unless there's an injury.
That first half, Schwinn, mate, it'd put anyone to sleep. Just shocking first half.
It was so boring. Nothing happened. No shots on target. Very passive passing, no one breaking the lines. I mean, just no movement ahead of the ball, and you could see that. I mean, for all the XG lovers out there, and we don't particularly talk about that a whole lot here, but I saw that Newcastle were 0.11 and Arsenal were 0.2 for XG in that first half, and I mean, I'm pretty sure a couple of people would have caught a snooze up at St James's Park, because I'm pretty sure I was about to.
Yeah, Tony just driven 5 hours to get there. I reckon he would have been fucking snoozing big time, mate, sitting in that stand. What was the crowd atmosphere like, Tony, in the first half? Or after the first half?
It wasn't the best. And Newcastle, in all fairness, when they're on top or when they've scored a goal, they're very loud. They're probably one of the louder away grounds at certain times. But they were quiet. Us as an away fan base were quiet. And neither side gave their fans anything to get behind, really. I don't think there was a proper shot on target in the first half. And when I say that, I mean something that I wouldn't have saved or you wouldn't have saved, the average bloke wouldn't have saved. I don't think there was any, not off the top of my head. So there was just nothing to get behind, and I think the atmosphere from both sets of fans was not the best.
So Guendouzi goes off, Torreira comes on half-time because there's fuck all to talk about in that first half, boys. But Granit Xhaka, he takes a free kick and scores a fucking magnificent goal, 1-0 up.
Yeah, well, it was a very good hit. There's not too much you can say about a free kick. It was a great hit. It went in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. It's hard.
It's not a move. You can't. Obviously we're going to go on to it, but the second goal you could talk about in detail about the passing and moving. When you score a free kick, you go either good free kick or keep a mistake. They're your two options.
That's right. One thing I'll say, and I don't know how true it is, but I think it might have been on the Arsenal Twitter account or Facebook page that Ozil had a little whisper in his ear and said to Granit prior to taking it, just shoot for goal.
Ozil said, we practice these a lot, so I told him to have a go, which in my book, and I'm pretty sure in Schwinn's book, counts as an Ozil assist. So I'm joking. But, they did say that. You're right. Apparently, him and Ozil, obviously being left footers from that side, they both. I'd imagine Ozil takes the closer ones because he doesn't have the shot power, and Xhaka takes the further ones. And he's probably said to him, because it was a long way out. He's probably said, "Look, you score these all the time in training. Have a go."
Mm-hmm. But we'll get on to the second goal. So, Tony, once again, Granit crosses the ball, goes into Lacazette, who has a shot, rebounds off somebody there and bounces back for Ozil to score a goal.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lovely move. I mean, you picked it up at the point where Granit pulled it back, but there was a hell of a lot that went on before that. Both good passing interchanges, but also a lot of patience because they knocked it out to Monreal, who knocked it inside, who played it back inside. And when these moves come to nothing, people go, they're just passing for the sake of passing and there's no rhyme or reason to it. When it comes off and we score, you can actually see what they were trying to do. So yeah, good move, good goal. I think maybe had it gone in against us, I'd be criticising the keeper a little bit, to be honest. He was wrong-footed, but I think it was close enough to him to probably do a bit better than he did. I don't care about that. Being an Arsenal fan, I'd rather he makes a mistake every time he touches the ball. But yeah, good goal, very good goal.
So that was.
And I was just going to say, interesting stat: 10 goals this season, 10 different scorers.
Wow.
No one's got more than one goal.
That is an interesting stat.
Yeah.
I better go to Schwinn because he's frothing at the bit to talk about Ozil. So, Schwinn, let it go, mate.
I mean, to be honest, I'm not that kicked about the finish. I was more kicked about the build-up, as Tony said. The intricate play there and the patience, as Tony mentioned, between Aubameyang, Ramsey, and Monreal was impeccable. And then to have Granit Xhaka, break that line, get in behind, and Lucas Torreira deserves a shout here because he's the one who opened up the possibility for Xhaka to move forward. With Guendouzi, that balance is never quite there for them to be able to just move up freely. The patience for Xhaka to pick a ball out, and if you want to pull out anything here, just to be a bit too skeptic, is Lacazette should be doing better there. He had a moment there before the three defenders converged on him to take a shot on, but I think he just waited for the perfect opportunity, and by that time he was closed down. But Ozil really didn't do anything special. He just opened his body up and kept it on frame. It wasn't like Granit's free kick, which was picked that out or anything spectacular like that. He just kept it simple and found the back of the net. Simple as easy.
At that point there, boys, did you just go, it's got to be Granit and Torreira to start? Was that the moment right there that you just went, well, fuck, we've actually done something, we've moved the ball, we've gone forward, We've created. You noticed it pretty much straight away when Torreira come on, but at that point in the 58th minute, Tony, did you guys think that's the start? That's who's got to start for us?
I mean, it's one of them. Everyone was calling for it before the start, and it sounds like a criticism of Guendouzi, and it's not. But before the game, everyone wanted it. As I said, we spoke about it on here a couple of weeks ago, and we spoke about it again last week. A lot of the fan base at the ground, they like Guendouzi, but they probably, as much as I like him, but we still think that the starting two should be Torreira and Xhaka. And I think that was more not the moment everyone thought these are the two to start, but it proved a point to everyone. It proved our own point. So it proved us right in a sense, like that goal and that move. But I don't think that was a moment we thought, these two should start. It was the moment everyone went, told you, sort of thing.
I'm just wondering whether Emery's on the same page as most Arsenal fans that these two have got to start.
Oh, you'd hope so, but who knows?
We'll have to flick him a tweet and give him some advice. Schwinn, you're obviously in agreement as well, mate. They've got to start together.
Not really.
You're not?
Not really. I mean, no. I mean, I can see whatever. No, that's not what I meant. I mean, it was not that moment. It was not a specific moment for me. Look, as Tony said, we've all been shouting for Torreira to start. Me, maybe less so than others. But I think, these things happen over time. You don't convince someone right away, especially a manager when he's selecting a team, right? I think it's a series of moments, a series of movements. And what I observed yesterday from Lucas Torreira was that not only was he comfortable in himself, which we've seen in the past, but I thought he improved his teammates around him. Granit Xhaka, of course, was one, but those two goals were very early on in the second half. We didn't see much of Torreira. Of course, we saw him in the background and making things happen off the ball. But it was for me later on the second half when I saw that players around him were able to improve. And for me, that was, it was a series of things happening around him that convinced me that apart from our midweek fixtures now, which is obviously going to be quite rigorous for someone like Guendouzi to play, back to back, I think when you're able to come in and not just assert your dominance in terms of your individual quality, but improve players around you, that's when you make a serious case for yourself in the team, and especially for a position like that. So it wasn't the goals per se. It was maybe further into the second half when I thought, yep, it's probably time for him to start, and I think he will against Everton.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Tony, look, arguably we've got probably one of the best attacking teams. Obviously Aubameyang, Lacazette, Ozil's there, Ramsey's there in attack, but we just lack that attack. With Aubameyang, Lacazette, Ramsey, as we said, had a poor game. Lacazette, I thought he had a good game. Aubameyang was poor on the left. Your thoughts there, mate, around how to moving forward, going into a couple of these next games?
I mean, I've made it clear I wouldn't persist with Aubameyang on the left. I'd find a way of getting two up top. But also I think Aubameyang has to probably be a bit more intelligent. And he did it a bit in the second half because we all know Lacazette drops deep. And for me, personally, he drops too deep. He's good at it, but it's not an area I want him. But when he does that, Aubameyang has to get off the left and take up the position where Lacazette should be or as a 9. And he done it, I think, in the second half, and Lacazette played a through ball through and the keeper just beat Aubameyang to it. I don't know if you remember that. And that's an occasion where it worked well, how the system should work. But too many times, Lacazette came deep and Aubameyang didn't take up that position in the middle, which meant their centre-backs were left doing nothing. We was never a threat because we had one striker in the centre circle and another striker out on the left. So I think they've got to work on that relationship if Aubameyang is to continue playing on the left. As I said, personally, not for me. But if he is going to play there, they have to work on when Lacazette drops deep, then Aubameyang has to take up his position. It's the only logic I can really see in playing Ramsey there, and that it's very clear I don't want Ramsey playing that high up. But again, if Lacazette drops deep, then Ramsey's another person who, in theory, could do the running to fill that gap. But again, he's not doing it. So it's they've got to work on the relationships. But look, they're 6 weeks into the season. Lacazette's only come in and started the last 2 games, so the system will have changed slightly. But it's something they're going to have to get used to if they keep playing Lacazette up front on his own.
And obviously, you say you've got to fit both of them up front. So Ozil in at the 10, them two up front. But where's Ramsey fit in? Obviously over.
Well, I'll play a flat three. I've said this a million times with Torreira, Xhaka, and Ramsey. With Ramsey has a license to go because both of the Xhaka and Torreira are going to be deeper than him. And even if only one of them is, that's the same as it is at the moment. We've only one sitting. Like when Granit went forward for the second goal yesterday, there was only Torreira that was the holding midfielder. So I would personally, I'd find a way to get them two up top, Ozil at 10, flat three in the middle with Ramsey, giving Ramsey a license to roam.
Okay. Schwinn, I want to touch on Mustafi with you. Look, we were talking about it on our WhatsApp chat yesterday. I didn't think Mustafi had a bad game. I got criticised that, oh shit, did I watch the game? And I'm thinking, yeah, I did. But he seems to get criticised. Okay, there was a couple of mistakes, but looking back at his stats, and I didn't, when I was having a talk with this bloke, and it wasn't until I looked at the stats, I went, well, even the stats say that he cleared about 10 clearances or 7 bloody duels he won and whatnot. But we were discussing and Bellerin, he uses that right, he runs right up on the right there. You've got Guendouzi there as well, and look, Guendouzi's a great kid, and then Ozil. So the right hand side is probably our weakest side, which I feel as though it opens Mustafi up for a couple of errors.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the balance is a bit off there because, you have players who are maybe a bit more, in terms of Guendouzi, a bit more inexperienced, and you have players like Mesut Ozil who are drifting in and out a bit more. So the balance is off. You're absolutely right. I mean, I would much rather be Socrates on the left and have the defensive solidity of a Monreal than be Mustafi in this case. You're absolutely right. And, some of the vitriol I saw against Mustafi was quite surprising. I tweeted at halftime that Mustafi looks like a changed man. All three of us, I think, at the end of last season were questioning whether he's good enough for the Arsenal. And look, that still remains to be proven, whether at his best he's good enough, whether his best is going to be good enough. And I'm not, just acquitting him of all responsibility. But I thought he had a very good game yesterday. Of course, there was that one instance where Socrates bailed him out, where he slipped. And shout out to Socrates there, because I think he's been proving some doubters wrong. He's quicker than we thought, and he uses his physicality very well for me. He gets in positions and just, he's one of those players who get just that tad bit in front of you and get that touch on the ball and then begs for contact and then wins a free kick. He does that very well, very aware. But back on Mustafi, I don't think he really had a bad game. I think he was very solid. Maybe there should have been a bit more communication between him and Bellerin at the very end, where we conceded and Bellerin let that I think it was Kieran Clark, the Newcastle defender, he just let him run through and have a free go at the goal. Other than those two instances, one a slip and two not being able to bail his teammate out, I don't really remember bad instances from Mustafi. And let's be honest, you can't really attribute those two to him, can you?
Well, I don't know. It's just some Arsenal fans just seem to have an agenda, and look, Granit Xhaka's another one who, as soon as he fucks up or the one fuck up, it's like, oh shit, he's having a bad game, he's having a poor game. Look, and I'm just looking at Mustafi's stats. So duels won was 10, duels lost 2, aerial duels won was 8, aerial duels lost 1, ball recoveries 3, clearances 7. And even when I looked at them stats after the game, after I thought he had a good game, and I think his stats back up that he had a pretty good game. I don't know why everybody crucifies a player for one or two small errors. It just fucks me over. I'm completely confused. Tony, what's your thoughts down that right side though? I just think, and we heard what Schwinn had to say, but I think it is our weakness.
I always feel like we're most likely to concede from the right. I'm a bit different to you two in that I thought Mustafi was good yesterday, nothing more, nothing less. It wouldn't have been a performance to write home about for me. I know you put him in the list of the contenders for man of the match, and I certainly wouldn't have done that. Again, it wasn't a bad game, and I'm not criticising him. I just don't think it was a standout game. But yeah, the right side, we focus so much of our attacking play on trying to get Hector in behind on the overlap that there's naturally gonna be a bit of a gap there. I noticed more yesterday, especially when Torreira came on, that he was obviously a defensive midfielder, but when we attacked, he was edging further towards the right side because he knows that that's where they were trying to break, especially with the pace they had down that side. I mean, Matt Ritchie on the other side is technically a brilliant footballer, but he's not quick. On the left, I can't remember who they started, but they brought Kennedy on, who's very quick, and Murphy, who's again very
Murphy,
quick.
I think he's really quick.
So they were looking to. They knew that we was going to overcommit Hector, and they were going to try and attack down that side. I think that's the issue of our right side. It's definitely our most dangerous side in terms of attacking, but it's also the side we're most likely to concede from.
I don't know how he's going to fix it. Well, then again, he'd have Torreira there, wouldn't he?
Torreira helped because he, in his role as defensive midfielder, he did edge himself. He didn't overcommit to the right side, but he was maybe, instead of being central, he was probably 10 yards further to the right, which helped.
I just looked at that partnership with Guendouzi and Granit. Did you notice that they swap over left and right a lot of the time?
Yeah, but I mean, I think when you're in a centre midfield too, it's not like centre backs where one plays on the left and one plays on the right. It's you'd expect your centre midfielders to switch about and pop up sort of all over the place because one goes, the other one has to cover the danger, and vice versa. So I don't see that as a point with centre midfielders.
I just didn't notice it as much with Torreira. That's all.
Yeah, but he was sitting further behind the ball, so he switched. He goes whatever side the ball is.
Yeah.
It's like we would say, for example, Vieira. No one would say he played on. I couldn't tell you if he played on the left or the right of the two centre midfielders because you don't, as a centre midfielder, you don't play on a side.
Yeah. Okay, boys. So what else have we got on that? So we touched on Granit. Monreal, he was pretty consistent. Socrates, Schwinn touched on that quickly. He had a good game, didn't he?
For me, he was man of the match.
He was your man of the match? Fucking weird cunt. Schwinn, who was your man of the match?
I have to disagree on it. I think especially in the second half. I mean, look, the first half is probably discarded, right? Because both teams.
Sorry to cut in. My reasoning is Socrates was good in both halves, and Xhaka was better in the second half than Socrates was, but Socrates was 2 or 3 levels above Xhaka in the first half. Not because Xhaka was bad, but because no one was good apart from Socrates.
Yeah. I mean, that's hard to argue with. I think he kept us in the game. But, when you have a free kick like that and then you control the game like that, I mean, you can call it a bit biased. But it's just nice to see someone who gets so much hate from Arsenal fans week in, week out, just shut them up. And for me, I'd give him the man of the match.
Yeah, my man of the match. It's hard to find a player better than Granit Xhaka.
But for me, Granit was a very close second. As I said, it just came down to Xhaka had an excellent half, whereas Socrates was good in both. As I said, I know what Schwinn's saying about he had an impact on both goals, and that's essentially what won the game. But we could have been 2-0 down at half time, and then you go, he scored and got a free kick. But do you know what I mean? I mean, he scored and not got half an assist. But do you know what I mean? They're not match-winning contributions if Socrates doesn't do what he done in the first half. So the reason they were match-winning contributions is because of Socrates' first half performance for me.
It looks like, I don't know. So Mustafi's your weak. Mustafi, Bella, and they're the weakest link in that back line, obviously.
Look, I'm basing it on yesterday that Socrates had a good game. That doesn't mean he's not going to be absolutely pony next week. I'm not saying he's a well beater. I'm just saying he was my man in the match yesterday.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Granit's got it for me, but I do see your point now, Tony, because that first half was fucking woeful. So.
Well, even when you done the poll, you didn't include Socrates on the first one, so it's very difficult to judge, and I didn't see who won it in the end. But when you done the second one, which did have Socrates on it, at the time I saw it, he was on about 80%. I mean, it's very hard to judge when you're looking across 2 polls because some people might have preferred him, but they couldn't select him, so they selected someone else, and vice versa. But I mean, he won his one by a landslide.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, boys. So Mkhitaryan, he came on for Aubameyang. That surprised me, that change a bit, because I almost thought Ramsey would have been the one to go off there. Tony?
I think they just wanted to shore it up a bit and take off some of the attacking intent and just make sure we didn't lose the game, essentially, or let them back in. I was a little bit surprised. To be honest, I thought it was going to be Lacazette, because I thought they would then just be able to shore the game up and go long and use Aubameyang's pace. But I knew it would be one of the attacking two.
It wasn't anything to do with, because Aubameyang had a knock earlier in that game. I don't think it was anything to do with that.
Nothing was clear, maybe, but it wasn't a clear knock. Just quickly, I'm just looking at WhoScored.com just to see how they gave their player ratings, and they, as I said, they use some form of algorithm that I don't really understand. But Ozil and Xhaka were both 7.8, were the best players on the pitch for them.
Okay. What was Mustafi and Socrates?
Mustafi 7.2, Socrates 6.7. Socrates and Bellerin were
hilarious.
Wow, there you go.
Yes. And Aubameyang was our worst player with 6.4, and then Socrates and Bellerin were our joint second worst.
Fucking hell.
Anyone who watched that game can never say that Socrates had a poorer game than Mustafi.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't really understand their algorithm. I think it includes passes completed, so Mustafi maybe completed more passes than Socrates. I don't know, but I was just looking at the ratings. Lacazette 7.1, Ramsey 7, so Ramsey was above Socrates, which for me is ridiculous. Monreal 6.8, so yeah, Monreal and Cech 6.8 each. I mean, Newcastle had a lot of players better than our players. Both their centre backs got 7 and 7.3. Isaac Hayden 7.1. So, as I said, I don't really understand their algorithm of how they do it, but I just thought I'd look as you were talking.
I've just looked at another one called FootMob, which is a similar type thing that you're saying. So they've said Socrates 6.7, Mustafi 7.6.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is similar. 8.2 for Granit, Ozil 8, Ramsey 7. Fucking hell! How did he get it? Yeah, so what? Yeah, I wonder how they come up with this.
I look at these rather than, as I said, I only looked at it because we were talking about it. But the reason that this is a site I load up is because it's not opinion based. It's not some journalist who's maybe got an agenda for or against someone. It's on a statistical algorithm. So it's going to be the same every week. Do you know what I mean? It's based on the same things every week. To me, it's wrong. It's completely wrong. But that's why I loaded this up and not saw what some journalist tweeted or wrote.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You want to get into some questions, boys? You want to add anything all to that game, or we'll probably answer a few on the questions, won't we?
Yeah, just one thing. I'm sure people notice it, but I found it both funny and good to watch. There was a time in the second half we're 2-0 up, and I think Mustafi played it to Socrates, and he had a bit of a loose touch. And instead of trying to recover it, he just smashed fuck out the ball and kicked it about 70 yards. And it could look like a wasted pass, but I liked that they weren't over concerned with playing football, and he knew that, shit, I'm in trouble, just get rid and play safe. And hopefully that's something we're learning to bring into our game rather than trying to play for the sake of playing at all times.
That's good.
So hopefully it's something we start seeing more often, that when we are in trouble, especially say against Man City, I know it's the first game, but we tried to play out at all times no matter what the situation was. Whereas I think yesterday there was a bit more of, if it's not on, if it's not safe to play out, get rid of it. And that's something I want to see more. I have no problem with playing out, but as you guys know, I am a big advocate of risk versus reward. And in that situation, there was no reward and there was a lot of risk. So he just hoofed it, which for me was brilliant.
Yeah, you could tell I was busy when you were talking. I was listening, but you've got me sucked into this Who Scored site now. I can shot directions, shot zones, actions. They got fucking.
They give you a lot of stuff. They do give you a lot of stuff.
Each and every week we touch base with a couple of our listeners, and this week we've got a few of the boys on. Addy, how are you, mate?
I'm doing all right. How's everything going?
Yeah, good, mate. 3 points, can't complain, eh?
That is true. That is true.
But
that is true.
It was a very, very boring first half, wasn't it?
Yeah, I tweeted yesterday the guys on Twitter, and I was saying that Emery had to put a rocket up their arse, or that he needed to make substitutions because we had possession, but it was just holding the ball and not getting anywhere with the ball. It was really, really slow in my eyes. Something we saw at times under Arsene, where first half would have possession but nothing meaningful. We'll just moving it sideways slowly. But obviously second half we picked up and we got the goals that we deserved.
Yeah, exactly, mate. No, I agree with you totally, 100% there. What do you got for us this week, buddy?
Again, I just want to touch on formation and under Emery and again the team selection. I'm still baffled in the sense that I think he said yesterday he brought on Torreira to give us more balance in the game, and one I commend him for seeing that early and making that change early. But then with me, it's like I think we this season we haven't actually dominated a whole football match, similar to Chelsea or to Man City or even to Liverpool, where there hasn't been a game where we've dominated a whole football match. And I think that I don't know what he's thinking, or obviously he sees the guys in training every week, but then to actually set out the team from the start and then we actually run off, we get started straight away. Again, I think this Ozil project of him on the right doesn't work, and Ramsey as a central attacking figure, again, for me, doesn't work. But again, I don't know what you guys' thoughts are, but again, I'm still waiting for Arsenal to. We haven't started clicking yet. We haven't clicked yet.
No, yep. Tony, I'll let you take that one, mate.
Yeah, I mean it's one of them things, and Addy covered both sides of it. But if you're pro Emery, which most people are, they go, it's brilliant to change it at half time and change it as needed. And if you're negative Emery, which very few are, but there are some, they're going, well, pick the right team to begin with, and you don't have to start fucking about at half time. For me, I'm a bit of both, and it sounds like you are as well, Addy, that I think everyone before the game was crying out for Torreira to start. We could see even like any sub appearances were just so much better with him and more balance with him on the pitch. So yeah, well done for making the change, but for me it shouldn't have been a change that he'd made it, because it should have been how we started. In terms of the Ozil experiment on the right, again, I couldn't agree more. I thought again yesterday, similar to Cardiff, that every time he drifted inside, everything went through him, and again there was at times he looked like the only one that was going to do anything. He was pulling all the strings, but then he would drift out to the wide right again and do next to nothing out there. Ramsey, I thought, just in general, had a very poor game. I don't like him as a 10. I've said that many times on here, and I don't think he'll ever be a player as a 10. Again, I still don't think Emery knows his best team, and I think that's something we're still struggling with. And he had a full pre-season. It's now, by the time our next league game, I think nearly October or last week in September, and we're still none the wiser about his strongest 11. For me, is quite poor. It is a project. I think we looked better yesterday than we have done in most of our games. So you can say we're slightly improving, but I completely agree. We haven't dominated a game from the start or for the 90 minutes. But if you look at our games, as I said, he's made a sub within 60 minutes, and I think every game. So as I said, does that show that he's got every team starting lineup wrong, or that he's willing to change it? And said it depends what side of the fence you're on.
And Schwinn, I'll go to you because Addy was talking about the experiment with Ozil on the right.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are fans of that. We've seen that in the past to accommodate players, and there's obviously a factor of that going on right now, because it seems Emery is quite a fan of Aaron Ramsey, and more so he's a fan of Aaron Ramsey, not in the deeper role that we've all grown to appreciate him in, but further forward. Look, Ramsey's a very talented player, and he's got his obvious qualities and his obvious failings, but what really bothers me about him is that it takes him 2 or 3 touches more to do what Meza does in that exact position, or even Mkhitaryan, to take the ball and turn, or as soon as you get the ball, you turn. That's something he lacks. He wants to take the ball because, as Tony mentioned last week, he doesn't like taking any sort of pressure from the back. He doesn't like taking any sort of physicality from the back. So he wants to get that cushion in and then see and assess his options. It's just not working so far. It might, but at the moment it's not. I'm not going to complain against 3 points because as the squad is learning, as Emery is learning, we're winning, and that's at the end of the day the most important thing. But it's been 3-4 games where we've had the opportunity to enjoy possession, 3 games to be precise, and it's not worked so far. Away from home, at home, against different sorts of teams, and I think it's about time where Emery might switch things up.
So it looks like, Addy, we've lost you, mate, but we'll keep moving and we'll go over to Vish. How are you, Vish?
Good, new test.
Yeah, good, mate, good. What's your question, mate?
My question also involves Aaron Ramsey because I feel that, yes, this is the question that we probably will face in December, but the fact that he hasn't signed a new contract, would you guys decide to sell him now and then look for a suitable replacement so we can play Torreira and Guendouzi as our deeper line midfielders with Granit Xhaka going forward as the more further advanced, and hopefully use the money from selling Ramsey to buy a winger or another alternative midfielder?
Tony?
I think the natural replacement for Ramsey in the squad is already there in Ozil. I don't think you'd move Xhaka forward because he doesn't like that flat 3. He clearly wants to play a 4-2-3-1. Ramsey at a 10, as I said, is not for me. But a replacement for that isn't Xhaka. It's to move Ozil in and get a right winger. It is a question we're going to face come January. As I said, I spoke about it last week, that his agent basically very much hinted that it was done, and then we've not heard anything since for two or 3 weeks. But he didn't say it'd been pulled out. He said Arsenal have just decided not to announce it. So who knows? I think if it gets to January and nothing is done, then I think we'd be stupid not to sell him. Unless, again, like Ozil, they knew that he was going to stay. He didn't actually sign until the 1st of February, but they knew internally, so that's why he didn't go. Sorry, I'm watching the burn again. So they knew that he was going to sign. So unless they know that with Ramsey, I think they'd have to sell him in January, but you wouldn't get much for him. But for me, if they're going to persist as playing him as a 10, I don't think he should be starting. If I'm not as a 10, as I said, ideally for me, we'd play a flat 3, and he'd be included in my team every time as the more attacking of the 3. But with a 2, I really can't see Ramsey keeping his role in this team because his level of performances aren't going to be up to it because he just can't play there. His skill set doesn't suit playing there.
How much you reckon we'd get for him in January, Tony? Just off the top of your head.
20.
20? Not much, is it?
I think even that's a stretch, just because he's free to negotiate. The thing is, in January, he's free to negotiate with foreign clubs, and I think if he does go, it would almost certainly be abroad. So even getting 20 for him, I think would be a push. To be honest, I think I'm being optimistic with 20 because they can negotiate for free, and I'm sure he'd be willing to hold on for 4 months. To get a move to a European superpower on a lot more money.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Vish, you got anything else for us, buddy?
No, nothing else, man.
Okay, buddy, thanks for listening and enjoy your chat, mate.
All right, thanks,
who else we got? Let's move to Vinny. You there, Vinny?
Yeah, hi. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, good, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing good, actually. 3 points. That wasn't bad.
We like that, don't we?
Yeah, definitely.
What do you got for the boys today, mate?
A game of 2 halves, actually, and I think it made a lot of things clear and a lot of things, that Emery still got to figure out. As you guys were saying, I don't like the idea of, Ramsey playing at 10 because he doesn't really have the space to make those late runs, or Ozil on the right. In fact, I hate the idea of, Auba playing all the way on the left as well. He seems a little sterile, not as effective. And I don't know. I mean, okay. Before I go into this, I don't have an agenda against Xhaka, but I don't know if we play a midfield three at if he's the best three midfielders that we have at the club right now, because he's got some technical issues. For example, Torreira will receive the ball, turn really sharp, and then play the ball really fast, and that brings about a lot of tempo, like in the second half. But I don't know if Xhaka's got that. So it's pretty clear that Xhaka is not a defensive midfielder. He's more of an 8, and Rambo is kind of the player that plays there. So ultimately, I think it's going to be a toss-up as the season progresses, and Emre's got to make a decision on that. And also, I don't see anybody pushing, any of those players that we're playing outside for a position. We don't see Iwobi pushing towards the first 11, and we're still persisting with Mesut on the right and Oba on the right, on the left. Sorry, so I don't really like that. So lots of decisions for Emre to make, actually.
Yeah, Schwinn, I'll go to you, buddy.
I'm sorry, but did I miss a question in there?
Yeah. So what do you guys think about how the team is going to ultimately shape up at the end of the season?
Well, end of the season has a couple of factors. Number one is, of course, Ramsey, whether he's going to be around or not. I mean, we could sell him in January, or he could stick around. But let's just assume for now that he's not going to be around. I think that we may not indulge in any sort of buys in January. I think Emery is going to take it easy, give his players a season to figure out who can adapt and who cannot. I think the team pretty much picks itself after that. Guendouzi comes out, Lucas Torreira comes in, and Mkhitaryan takes up a bit more game time with us sacrificing Ramsey. So I think the summer will be a bit more definitive in terms of Emery bringing in reinforcements and identifying which positions need changing. I think it's also very clear at this point that Nacho Monreal will be given a contract, so I don't expect any difficulties with that, because it seems Monreal will be happy to stay, and Emery wants him to stick around. So I'm not quite sure whether things will change dramatically by the end of the season. I think our squad is pretty much set, and I don't expect too much activity in January.
What about you, Tony? You agree with that, mate?
Yeah, I mean, as I agree, I can't see any changes in January, or many major changes in January. I think how we ultimately set up, I think we'll, as I said, if he wants to keep the current formation, I think it will be Granit and Torreira to give you that bit of a stronger base. There will be games where it calls for more like a Ramsey alongside one of the two. Personally, for me, I would rather Mickey wide and Ozil 10 than having Ramsey in the team at 10. But we'll see what Emery decides on between the season. As I said, I'm a firm believer he doesn't know his best team yet. And I think that shows from his substitution in games. As I said, I'm pretty sure that there hasn't been a game yet where he hasn't made a sub by the 60th minute. And usually at half-time. So, I mean, Man City, Lacazette came on after about 50. Chelsea, there was subs at half-time. Lucas obviously came on at half-time yesterday. West Ham, Lacazette came on at half-time. So that's 4 of the 5. And Cardiff, Torreira was the first sub again. I think it was around the 60 mark. So it clearly shows that he's still experimenting, which if we're picking up points while he's experimenting, you can't complain really, but he does need to hurry up and find what is his best team. And as I said, I think, again, yesterday shows, and I know I said this after the Cardiff game, but there was a caveat of the international break, but I now think Lucas's place in the team is set. I think there's a few negatives running around with Guendouzi in that he's playing very well, but he doesn't overly do anything, as in he doesn't affect the game attacking-wise. He doesn't really affect it defensively. He keeps the game ticking over, which is an important skill. But when you've got a team like Newcastle, who yesterday defended very compactly and didn't allow a lot of space, and you're so high up as an away fan at Newcastle, you get to actually see, you get a really good view of how teams are tactically set up. And there was so little space. Someone like Guendouzi, he didn't play bad, but his skill set is wasted in a game like that. And we were, after 20 minutes, literally everyone in the stands was like, he's coming off at half-time for Torreira. Just because he didn't do anything wrong, but the game didn't suit him. And there was another game, I think it was West Ham, where we all said the same thing. So I think that's probably the type of thing that loses him his place in the team, and Torreira comes in from now on, I'd imagine.
He's look, I I got a bit of criticism last week when we did the podcast, or the week before, whenever it was, on Guendouzi, because apparently I was a bit of a hater, but I didn't mean to come across as a hater. I just think he's a little bit raw at the moment, and that's the only thing that I see with Guendouzi. Obviously, more experience in playing for Arsenal and whatnot. He'll blossom.
I mean, for me, he done what he does well yesterday, and you'd probably go, "Oh, it was a 7 out of 10 or whatever." But what he doesn't impact the game enough. So it's one of them that subbing him in a way is not really his fault, because you picked him knowing what his skill sets are, and he's used that skill set well. But
have we seen his full skill set though?
I think so. He takes pressure well. He rats around. He does a lot of the running. But then when he gets the ball, he's ultimately quite safe. And against a team that have got 9 men behind the ball at all times, safe doesn't really. I don't mean he has to play worldy balls every time, but getting the ball off one centre back and giving it to the other, which, as I said, in a game under pressure where you're being pressed, is an invaluable skill. But against a team like Newcastle, where they're not really pressing you, they've got 9 men behind the ball, getting it off Mustafi and giving it to Socrates is just nothing. Do you know what I mean? It's not having an impact on the game in any way.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Vinny?
I just wanted to know your guys on, Oba, your thoughts on Oba playing on the left, and, the seeming decrease in output that we've seen this season compared to last.
Tony?
For me, it has to change. Not only is he not effective there, he's clearly not happy there. I mean, look, the thing is, he uses his pace to get in behind, and that's always going to be less effective against a fullback, because naturally they're quicker than centre-backs. Also, even if he does get in behind, and I think I said this last week, he's running towards the corner flag, whereas when he was in the middle, a couple of times he got in behind yesterday, and he's going directly on goal. It was strange yesterday. I think it was maybe at 0-0 or just after the Xhaka free kick. He went centrally for about 5 minutes. And I don't know if it was a tactical switch or he just found himself there. And he looked dangerous for every second of them 5 minutes, and then swapped back again. It was a bit of a weird one. But for me, we've got no one suited to playing on the left. As I said, I've been advocating a formation change. I don't know if Emery's going to do that. But I'm not overly comfortable with seeing Aubameyang on the left all the time. And I said it doesn't suit his skill set again.
Okay. Right, Vinny, thanks for the call, mate.
Thank you so much, guys.
No worries, buddy. Thanks, mate. And that's it for the live callers. If you want to also get on the podcast and have a yak with the boys, you can find our Skype details on our bio, and each and every week we put out a tweet and jump on and have a talk to a few listeners. Okay, boys, let's get into a couple of questions now. We'll go on the Twitter. Yeah?
Just before you go,
sorry, I had some... mate. How are you, mate?
I had some technical issues there. I'm sorry. I had a few phone calls as well, which muted me.
Yeah, all right, buddy.
So I didn't have... I was just going to say... I just one good thing that happened yesterday was Reiss Nelson, and I think just your thoughts on how he may develop in Germany, because I think we've sent quite a few people on loan, but to ineffective clubs that weren't going to actually build him up as a player. But obviously, I think him going to Hoffenheim and with the coach they have there, and the style of football that they will be playing there, I see it as beneficial. But I'm thinking, what are your thoughts on Reiss Nelson going forward? Because I think it could really elevate him, and I think he's a player that we could have actually dealt with as a winger, or could have actually kept in the squad, because as we all know, we don't have any natural wingers that gets the ball down and attacks fullbacks. We haven't got anyone like that. But what are your thoughts?
Tony or Schwinn, I open up both of you boys, because did you see the game yesterday, Schwinn?
I didn't catch the game, but as I'm sure most Arsenal fans did, I did catch the goal he scored. I think he came on as a sub, played for about 14 minutes, and scored a very, very good goal. Even the touch that led him into open space in the box was very good, and then a composed finish. Just quickly on how he may develop, I think Hoffenheim is going to be a very, very interesting spell in his career for him. Nagelsmann is obviously a manager who's known to develop some of this youth talent. We've seen Serge Gnabry develop quite a lot in the last couple of years under him. And I think it's going to be a very, very good experience for him. I would have loved to retain him, but his game time would have been seriously saturated with Arsenal, because we have Danny Welbeck, who's a wide player, Iwobi, who occupies those positions. And as much as I would like to give him more time, I think just in the pecking order he would have suffered a bit. But we've signed him to an extension, we've secured our asset, and he's going to go and be able to develop there. So I think it's a very positive stint for him, and I really do hope we can benefit from this, because that means that's less of an investment we need to make in terms of our wingers, which would obviously be welcome. So good on him to score. Congratulations to him, of course, and let's see what comes of him in the near future.
You catch a game, Tony?
Again, I've only seen the goal, and he took it very well. It was a great first touch. My only worry, and I think it's brilliant, he's going to get a lot more game time there than he ever would have done here, so I think it's a good move. He's going to be playing in a top league for a top coach. My only one issue is, the only thing I think he struggled with even when he's played for us, he's clearly not physical enough. And I don't know, with the way that the Bundesliga is played, he's going to add to that. He'll learn a bit just from getting pushed off the ball every now and then by men rather than playing under 21s. And he'll have to beef up or bulk up a bit. Whether that's enough for the Premier League, I don't know. And that's my only worry. Everything else is positive about it. Again, he's going to get much more experience and playing there than playing in the under 21s over here, or under 23s as it is now. So yeah, I think there's a lot of positives there, and he could come back and be a world beater for me. But as I said, I just worry about that physicality. And interestingly, I watch Jadon Sancho quite a lot, and while again he's definitely improved as a player since he's been there, he got a quality assist yesterday for Dortmund. Physically, he's still quite young. He is young. I think he's 18. So, and that's the one thing I think Reiss Nelson needs to be able to play for Arsenal now. I think that's the only thing he's missing. So hopefully he gets that over there. But using Sancho obviously who's very similar as a reference point, I'm not sure that he'll get that, and I honestly believe that's the only thing that's stopping him from playing for Arsenal.
Okay. All right, Addy, thanks, mate.
No, thank you.
No worries, buddy. Take care. We'll speak again next week.
Definitely. Cheers. Bye.
Yeah. See you, boys. Okay, one last call. Matty, how are you, mate?
Hey, hi Tez. Hi guys. I'm sure this must have been a great weekend for Shwin and Tez. This podcast is going to be great, considering Xhaka.
It was fucking brilliant, Matty.
Yeah. And I'm really happy that my prediction was wrong. I predicted 2-2, so I'm happy as well.
I think I'll go back to the old podcast. I'm pretty sure I said 2-1, didn't I, Shwin?
Yeah, I think both of us forgot after the podcast we did. I think it was Cardiff, wasn't it? Where we did one, and then during the international break we recorded one more, but we forgot and then went for 2-1. So good on us.
Yeah.
Do we win something?
Legend status, mate.
What
What do you got for us, Matty? Ask.
Yeah, sure. So my question is for the last 3 to 4 games, we have to keep on saying about pressing game and playing from the back. But I did not see that much of pressing or playing from the back. In fact, for last 10-15 minutes, I could see that Czech was launching a lot of long balls. So have we started adapting as per the opposition, or was I looking at some other game?
Yeah, Tony? You were at the stadium, so...
Yeah, look, I've been saying this non-stop, that people keep claiming we're a pressing team only because he said we're a pressing team, not by watching us and us actually pressing, because we don't. As I said, how can you press when Newcastle are going to kick the ball long to Joselu? What is there to press? They've got a goal kick, you can't press him, and he smashes it 70 yards. What is there to press? As I said, barring the Chelsea and City games, we haven't been a pressing side because it's not possible. So I think with that, Maddie, you're right. We didn't press yesterday, but that's because Newcastle made us not able to. And in the same way, I think West Ham did. They went long to Antonio. Cardiff did. They went long to, I think it was Danny Ward. And what was the other game we played? Oh, no, that was it. So I think aren't pressing just because you're not able to press a long ball side. In terms of playing out from the back, we started, but I mean, I admire Rafa Benitez. He sets up his teams with, as I said, 9 men behind the ball, and he gives you very little space to work in. And the issue was they were letting us play out from the back pretty much. We had a goal kick, and they were going sort of giving it, letting our centre backs have it, and then only really half pressing themselves and just saying, "Go on, then break us down." And we couldn't. So then we felt the need that we had to get the ball further up the pitch and play a game in their half rather than play the game in our half. And I think that was probably one of the biggest changes at half time, was that we decided we're going to play the game 20 to 30 yards higher up.
So it was a tactical decision by Emery, you think?
Well, I mean, the only thing that maybe makes you think it might not is we scored, obviously, 3 or 4 minutes after half time, which meant that they also they couldn't keep that compact shape anymore. So I don't know if it was a tactical thing or as a result of the goal coming so early, then they had to slightly change how they played. Obviously, we'll never know. It's difficult to tell, but there was clearly a change in the second half. So I think I
agree there. Yeah, I was just going to add to it. Did you notice? And I don't want to pick on him, but Cech, he's still a little bit shaky, isn't he? Playing out from the back, like it was.
He's always going to be shaky playing out from the back.
Yeah, and that's what I thought it might have been. More of a, I don't know, a pet talk to Cech saying just play your natural game, but obviously maybe not.
No, I mean I don't think so as much because, as I said, the defenders, even when they had the ball without going to the keeper, they weren't passing it around the back as much. There was a lot more forward passes from everyone. And I mean, I've not looked at stats or pitch maps or any of the heat maps, any of that stuff. But I mean, I'd be almost certain that in the second half, the passes went forward a hell of a lot more than they did in the first half. And in a way, it's credit to Newcastle. I mean, we do have to remember that Newcastle's start has been City, Chelsea, us, Tottenham, and Cardiff, and they lost to the 4 teams you'd probably expect them to lose to, all 2-1. We're the only team that held a 2-goal lead over them. So in a way, you can kind of say we've matched what other teams done and maybe slightly better. But it shows that their defensive shape is very good. So in a way, you kind of have to give them credit for that. And as I said, I think the goal coming very early in the second half maybe altered the game quite a lot. And so that means we'll never know if it was a tactical change or just a natural happening because of the goal.
Okay. Right, Matty, thanks for your question, mate.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Good on you, buddy, and thanks for listening, mate. We'll catch up with you another time, mate.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, bye.
Cheers, mate. See you. Some questions. So, Sarvesh, do you think Emery's building the team around Ramsey is a bad idea? I mean, he is good, but he has never been one to control the play. Surely we should build a team around Ozil or Xhaka, because every time they play good, the team looks good. Example, yesterday's second half, Tony.
Well, I mean, look, how many times if we said this a couple of weeks ago, we should build around Ozil and Xhaka, people have said, oh, you're stupid, blah, 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 they're shit. They go missing, they can't pass the ball to our own team. And now, I'm not saying Sarvesh is saying this, but now they've had a good game. It's like, oh, yeah, we shouldn't be building around them. And if they're shit again next week, it's, oh, why are you building around Xhaka? So it's one of them things. I think the reason he wanted to build a team around Ramsey is because he's our best trigger for a press. But as I said earlier, we can't press against a lot of these teams. So it takes the reason we're building the team around him sort of out of the equation and doesn't really make sense. I completely agree. I don't think Ramsey's the player a team should be built around anyway. But to be honest, I don't think... I mean, when I watch us, I think our whole game should be based on getting the best out of Ozil. Whether that's playing around him or letting him float and pick up the ball wherever he wants. Because, I mean, especially when we're attacking, we're a whole different proposition when Ozil was playing well. And he done it again yesterday, like I said, against Cardiff. He had a 20-minute spell where you just thought we looked dangerous every time he got anywhere near the ball. And he done it again yesterday. And it was only 20 minutes, which is the annoying part. But I would do anything we possibly can to try and make that 20 minutes game 50 minutes per game or 60 or obviously ideally 90, but that's never going to happen.
He goes on, and I just read further down, not saying this just because they scored, but they got free in the second half and enjoyed their football after Torreira came on. Mustafi, he also says, looks better but still has the odd mistake in him.
Yeah.
So, just on Granit though, look, I don't know what it is. Like, obviously, Arsenal fans just, his price tag was always going to put a target on his back. But you see his celebration after every time he when he scores a goal, it's the hand to the ear and the yappity yap yap.
Yep.
That's obviously, like, he must get some hate. Like, fair dinkum. Like, if I fucking hate some of our fans. I'm happy for our fans to criticise a player or say, what the go is, but he must actually get some real hate to make that his celebration.
I mean, I know when he started doing it was aimed at journalists and a lot of people moan about his dual nationality stuff. And he'll probably say that's what it is still. Okay. I don't believe that for a second, but no, I don't believe but that's what he'll say it is. And obviously when he changed it to doing the Albania flag in the Albania eagle in the World Cup, he got the Kosovan or Albanian, whatever one it is. I'm not clued up on that. There was a threat of a ban by it. So again, he'll say that, well, if I can't do that, I'm going to do the yappy for stopping them because they're stopping me from talking about it. They're essentially censoring me. But I'm not so sure if that's the case.
Oh, yeah, I never thought it could be that. I thought it was aimed at our fans.
No, he's always said, because I remember he'd done it after he scored his first, and everyone thought and no one had criticised him at that point because he was a new shiny toy sort of thing.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, oh, what's that about? But then he come out after and said it was based at people digging him out, playing for Switzerland and being from Kosovo and his brother playing for Albania and it being all over the place.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Okay, I'll take all that whole statement back. I love our fans. They're just fucking lovely people. The cunts will be cunts though, won't they? Okay, yeah. Hakon Larsen. For Schwinn.
Yakon.
Hakon. Yakon. Yeah, that's right. He's got his own hashtag going, hasn't he? That RC fella keeps hammering him. Yakon with Hakon. I love it. Where do we start though? I'm just looking through this thread. Based on that, I know you so well. I agree with everything you guys said so far on the podcast. Good job.
That's the end of it. So that's the last one of the thing.
Scrolling down. Okay, we got a few here. Schwinn, I think we are starting to see the result of Aubameyang playing on the wing. Fuck me. Uses too much of his energy to chase back rather than use all of his energy to run behind. He looked tired. What do you guys think, Schwinn?
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. As Tony said, he doesn't look happy either. He doesn't seem to be enjoying his football, and he's one of those players who, he wants to be happy, and that's when you get the best out of him. It helps that he's a jovial person, just in general, and livens up the mood at training, and you can see that from all the pictures and everything that comes out. But a striker, which is what he is, needs goals, especially for his confidence. And of course, he scored a goal against Cardiff coming in from that left position, but it doesn't seem to be clicking as we would want it to. It's still early, so I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but we may have to decide between a Lacazette and an Aubameyang, when it comes to the deeper end of the season. And with these competitions coming in, when we have the Europa League and, of course, the Carabao Cup, we will need some rotation. We cannot rely on Eddie and Ketia and Welbeck to be able to push us throughout. So maybe these competitions coming in starting this week are a good thing and a silver lining in that way, where Lacazette can probably come in for the European games and we can have Aubameyang for the Premier League or rotate depending on the opponents. But it's not working, is it, as you guys touched upon earlier?
I read an article yesterday, I think it was, and once again, you never know how true these fucking journos are, whether they're making this shit up or what. But apparently Emery had come out and said in a press conference that he's going to use a similar squad to the Premier League for the Europa League, as the Europa League will become our main target for this year. So that's a lot
I
of
completely
games.
missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely missed that. But I would imagine that's not the case for the initial part of the tournament. I mean, no disrespect here, but some of our opponents really don't match the caliber, right? So I wouldn't imagine us fielding out a full strength 11, not against some of the opponents we have in the group stages, of course.
Well, I'm just trying to think back at his time with Seville when he won. I wonder what. Well, you guys might know, what team did he run with through that tournament?
It was as strong as he could be, if I'm honest.
Okay, so
I mean, I think the issue is there's not the money in Spain. They don't have the squad depth. So here we could play a second string team and win that group. I agree with Schwinn that I think what he was talking about is come February, March when we get into the business end of Europe, then we'll be playing first teams in it. But that's exactly what we done last season. We played a second string through the groups, played a second string against Ostersunds just because of the draw. And then when we got to Milan, CSKA and ultimately Atletico, it was the first team in every game.
But do you think he's willing to take that risk? Like, okay, if we're comfortably winning the group.
It's a risk.
No, I know that and you know that, but I wonder whether he fucking knows that at times.
Yeah, of course he does.
Of course he does.
I shouldn't say that.
Just because you can't understand him doesn't mean he's an idiot, Chaz.
No, I know, but I just thinking like, yeah, okay, you got a good point. I shut my mouth. That RC fella, I'm not entirely sure what Guendouzi gives us. During the game, I like him and see potential in him, but what benefit is he giving us now? Tony?
This echoes what I said earlier. I was saying it to my friends at the game yesterday, that he does whatever he does well, but does it impact the game? And the type of game yesterday, West Ham, Cardiff, the answer is no. He looked good against Chelsea and City because in them games, that's where the teams put the pressure on you, and he's very good under pressure and relieving pressure. But based on yesterday's game and the vast majority of games we're going to play, I completely agree with both the question. As I said, I mentioned it earlier. He's very good at what he does, but do we need what he does in against the Cardiffs, the Newcastles?
Yeah, no, I was looking at some stats yesterday from the team he used to play for in that French B League or whatever they're called. He's actually a pretty good goal scorer from distance. So I wonder why he's not. He doesn't seem to be having shots with Arsenal, does he? He's not like a granite taking shots from deep out.
Don't get far enough forward.
He sits back too far. I wonder what I know nothing of the kid when he played wherever he played, so it's very hard to make a comment on it. But I wonder was he been moved forward up, pushed up the field further when he was playing with them?
No idea. No. I saw as much as him as you before he joined Arsenal.
Yeah.
Can I quickly add on Guendouzi? I mean, just based off what you guys just said, it might be possible that he's one of those players who sort of takes up that Iwobi role, not in terms of position, of course, but you know how Iwobi is used a lot in the big game, especially away from home, because of his ability to withstand some physical pressure, his ability to move the ball quickly. And that might be something that Emery plans to use long term. Maybe not this season because of the personnel he's been handed. But if he is a manager who has the vision to set up a team 2-3 years from now, which, by the looks of it, he has been given that responsibility, it's quite possible that he is trying to leave his imprint on the team, which, of course, we know is a high-paced, high-pressing game. And it's just not possible with this team. So long picture, big picture, it's possible that we see more of these players, take up those roles. And in the short term, they just play against the big teams because, for all of Granit Xhaka's qualities, he is very pressable. So if Lucas Torreira comes in the meantime, then maybe Guendouzi comes in for Xhaka against Man City away or Man United away.
Yeah, entirely possible. I mean, you called it the Iwobi effect. I would call it the Park Ji-sung effect because he was actually good at it. But yeah, it's possible. I think nowadays it's very hard to, if you haven't, this is an issue more with Iwobi than Guendouzi, that he plays very well in them big games, but he doesn't do so well in the small games, and it makes people question why he's getting picked. As I said, the one thing is with Guendouzi is he's playing well, It's just, is what he's doing valuable to the side in them games? So it makes him easier to pick in them big games. And I think long term, you're right, he could have that role. But at the moment, I think by playing him in these kind of games, it's hampering us.
I still think he's got more to offer. I think there's got to be more to a Guendouzi than what he has been offering. I don't know what it is, but the scouts or whoever found him, they've seen something in him. And like I said, I look back at just some stats and goals that he played for that other team, and obviously he's got it in his game. So I don't know if we're going to see it or not, the way he's been used. Cause I said I haven't seen him before, and I'm not going to sit here and make out that I know much about the bloke, but I just think he's got more to offer. And we must,
and the attitude.
Brilliant.
For someone who's that young, I mean, if he blossoms into the player that he is projecting he could be, he could very well be an Arsenal captain in the future, 5, 6, 7 years from now. Yeah.
Just one point I want to pick up on, and I've only just looked on Wikipedia, which obviously is not the most reliable, but according to Wikipedia, he's never scored a goal. So I don't know where you've got he scored some long-range goals from.
Okay, hang on. No, I won't do it now recording, but yeah. No, it was an article I read yesterday, so it was only a recent article, and they were talking about it. So I'll try and find it out a bit later. I'll have to have a look at that now.
I'll pull it up while we move forward.
Okay, so Håkon Larsson, Tez still wanking over Xhaka's goal. Beautiful free kick it was. Absolute brilliant free kick. But not only that, I just like it when Granit, he scores, he played, he had a good second half, and it's all good. I'm happy. Håkon Larsson again, what do you make of the first half? Absolutely shit, wasn't it? Yes, we've all said that was absolutely shocking first half, put everyone to sleep. Should Ozil just have 2 dots over the DET 0 on his back instead of his whole name on the shirt? Would have been awesome, the number 10. Schwinn?
I'd buy that, kid.
Massive changes again when Torreira came on and Ozil moved centrally. The balance in the team was right, and we had a long spell with total control, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really a question, it's a statement, and one that I completely agree with. As I said, and I know, obviously, amongst the away fans, there's a lot of people that don't rate Ozil as there is on Twitter. But even a lot of them were saying yesterday, in that 20-minute spell or whatever it was, he was almost unplayable. And as I said, it's just trying to get that out of him more. The balance was better. The only issue, and as I said it earlier, is how much was that to do with the scoreline changing. Obviously, we had 4 minutes of a game, and let's be fair to Torreira, he played the pass that won us the free kick. So you can say he directly was involved in changing the scoreline. But saying we completely changed in the second half may have been due to them needing to come out and try and get back in the game. And that's it. I'm not saying it was, but that's the only little caveat you can put on it.
Yeah. Okay, so we go on to Brad's. We kept the clean sheet with Cech in goal. So we haven't kept the clean sheet with Cech in goal. So why is he playing? Poor passing each game is just getting boring to watch. Do we really have to wait for him to score an own goal to get him out? Also, are you worried that Lacazette and Aubameyang have only had one good game in 5 and have only scored once each? Both look good in pre-season, but look off now, Tony.
I mean, for me, the issue is they didn't play together in pre-season, and now they are, so they didn't get that balance of what they're doing. I mean, we didn't see Aubameyang on the left in pre-season at all. Now, suddenly that's where he's starting. The goals are being shared around, as I said earlier, which in a way is a good thing, because if one of them does go on to score the 20 or 30 goals we expect them to, then you're still getting goals from everywhere, and it makes you a lot harder to defend against if anyone is a potential goal scorer rather than just 1 or 2 guys. So it's not a worry there. And in terms of Cech, I mean, yes, we haven't kept a clean sheet, but he's been at fault for none of the goals. He hasn't made a mistake leading to a goal this season. Just because he conceded, that's not his fault. Do you know what I mean? for me, I've said this every week on here. I've seen nothing that makes me think he needs to be dropped. He's not brilliant playing out from the back, but we know that, and they know that. And as I said, the saves he's made, he's probably saved us a lot of goals that would have gone in against other keepers. So for me, just because he's conceded, you can't say, it's like saying yesterday, Ozil didn't get, he scored, so it's different. But saying, he didn't get an assist, so you have to drop him. For me, I think watch the game, as I said, watch football with your eyes and not look at stats, and blah blah blah. But for me, not keeping a clean sheet isn't a reason to drop him.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just touched quickly on Guendouzi. I don't know if you had a look as well, Schwinn, but I was just having a quick look, and I looked on this Who Scored, Tony. When he played for, I got to hear Laurent, when he played in France, he had one game with him.
No, that's wrong.
That's got to be
That's
wrong.
4 games, I think. 4 starts and 4 sub appearances is what I see on Who Scored.
Okay, because I've got 1 appearance. Yeah, okay, my Who Scored's fucking shit house then. Wikipedia, which is not the most accurate, has 26 across 2 years. Yeah,
That might even include Lorient B.
No,
that's
24 for Lorient B and 26 for Lorient.
Okay, I can't find that anywhere. I don't know if you can, Schwinn, but I've got 4 Schwinn. Yeah, on Who Scored. Yeah, one appearance on it and two friendlies. But yeah, don't know. That's weird. Okay.
I mean, I tried to check Transfer Market, but that website seems to be down, which usually they have their stats pretty updated. So it's strange that we can't get a consensus on this, which is, it's surprising. It's just games played. That's not the toughest thing to find out.
Yeah, I know, it is, eh? Wikipedia's 26. Who Scored's fucking 4.
Then I don't think Who Scored includes the French second division because it's only got Coupe de France games for Lorient on there and friendlies. So it's like saying he never played a league game, which he definitely did. It can find video footage of it. So I think Who Scored just must only take the top division into account.
It is Coupe de France, Lorient 1, club friendlies 2.
Yeah. So, and he definitely played games for them. So I think they're only including top division.
Yeah. Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay. Hakon Larson, is Guendouzi playing a sort of way we want Ramsey to play? What do you guys think? I'm aware of Ramsey's key attributes and what he brings, but we rarely see result of his runs. Yet again, he was playing at 10, so wrong in my opinion. He left Xhaka and Guendouzi all alone so many times, way too far up the field. And I'll go to you, Schwinn.
We spoke about this, of course, during our live callers and addressed it a bit before that. It's not working, and it's got to be time for Emery to recognize that and adapt to it. Look, we want to give him time, and we want him to be able to assert his authority on the team. But certain things are not working, right? They might work in the future, but at the moment with the personnel we have, it's not working. And till the time he's going to field out this 11 or use this 16, 20-man roster, this is not the way to play with Ramsey at 10, especially if you're still going to have Mesut Ozil in the team, because he's going to drift in pretty much 9 times out of 10. In terms of if he plays if we want him to play the way Guendouzi is playing, I'm not sure. Look, the way Ramsey bombs forward, I don't think Guendouzi has that in him. If anything, Guendouzi and Xhaka clash a bit more because they both want to be the ones starting the game, starting play from and the build-up. And I think that's one of the reasons that we saw Xhaka yesterday, particularly in the first half, really shout at Guendouzi and ask him to get back in different positions. Maybe Tony noticed this while he was in the stadium, but he was, of course, sitting quite far up. But I noticed on the telly that he was giving him a mouthful quite a few times to ask him to get in position. And I don't think that's the same sort of friction we see between a Xhaka-Ramsey partnership. Again, whether it's instructions for Ramsey not to drop deep, I don't know. Because if Mesut Ozil was playing at 10 and we had Guendouzi and Xhaka playing deeper in midfield, we wouldn't be saying that Ozil should be dropping deeper and helping his midfield out, because we wouldn't be expecting that from him. And to be fair to Aaron Ramsey, he does a lot of running for Aubameyang and Ozil. That's probably the only thing he did yesterday in terms of his positives. So I don't want to take everything away from Aaron Ramsey, because I think he works very hard for his teammates, and sometimes those things go unnoticed. but it's the number 10 experiment is not working, and I think it's time that we realize that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I couldn't help myself. I just had another quick look at this Guendouzi. So soccer base, appearances 26, goals 0. So
not to point out I'm always right, but that is what I said.
I got fucking bullshitted too, that cunt. I'm going to fucking ride under that fucking article. You're a lying scumbag.
So Tez has a segment of the whole podcast telling us how great his long-range shooting is.
Yeah.
Despite him scoring exactly
never scoring a fucking goal. Look, I like to come on this podcast and act like a professional here. That I've just been led up the garden path. Just fucked up. What a cunt. Actually, might have even been the commentator on the game yesterday. It was somewhere I read it or heard it, and I was like, oh yeah, must be more to his game then. Lying cunts everywhere. Tony's always right. Fuck off. Okay. Hakon Larson again, and based on that, I know I've already read that. He says this podcast is legend. Tez is awesome. Thank you, Hakon Larson. What
a goal! I'm sorry, boys. Yarmolenko just scored a beautiful goal for West Ham, 2-0. 30th minute.
Also confirms that South African internet or whatever you're watching on is about 5 minutes behind UK TV.
I'm watching on cable, so that's even more hilarious.
That happened there. How's the game, mate? Even I'm in front of you.
Well, am I on DVR or something? Is that the reason? Because I'm watching on cable. There should be no reason I'm behind.
Yeah, you are.
Apologies.
Your age is beyond, mate. That was old news. Oh shit! It's now 3-0. Now Schwinner, you'll be waiting half hour.
Oh god damn it! Did you guys see Theo Walcott's haircut? By the way, what's going on there?
By the way, Tez is definitely lying.
Not that I care.
What did we miss? What did you say?
Did you see what's going on with Walcott's hair?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Not quite sure what's the motivation there. Needs to change before next weekend, before he gets blasted at the Emirates.
Maybe make him run faster or something.
Any faster wouldn't really help, especially when he's going to be up against Montreal.
Wouldn't mind West Ham. I hope West Ham win this game. Poor bastard.
Is Richarlison back next week, or has he got another game?
He is, yeah.
Oh, fuck's sake.
How's your fantasy looking, Schwinn?
No one cares.
Yeah, let's move on.
No, everyone cares about Schwinn's fantasy league.
I haven't even looked at it. I mean, to be fair, it was probably all right because I had Mesut Ozil in my team, so I got some points on the board, unlike last week, which was pretty much shit all across.
Yeah, I got shit this week. Nothing. Okay. I'm only stalling because I can scroll back down and find questions. You do know that, don't you?
Yep, I saw your WhatsApp message.
Did I? I didn't. Lying cunt. Glenn Baxter, keep up the good work, lads, as Tony always says. Fuck off, Glenn, you brown-nosing cunt. The result is always important. 3 ugly wins in a row. Teams find a way to win ugly. Good to see Xhaka and Ozil get amongst the goals. My question is, how big are the goals for both of them, and will it launch their season, Tony?
I don't think so, because one of them in Ozil doesn't particularly take great satisfaction in scoring. He prefers to be a provider. And the other one, as I said in Granite, I thought he was good against Cardiff. He just has them lapses in concentration, or as I would call it, cunt moments, and it disrupts any game he has. Like even yesterday, as I said, I thought he was excellent, but you can't say it until after the game, because you know at any time he could just do something ridiculous. And it's just something that we need to, or I wish he could cut it out or learn to cut it out. But I don't think a goal will do much for his confidence. Because as I said, I think he was very, especially against Cardiff, I thought he was very good. But he gave goal away. So that's sort of where you sit with him.
You'll never admit he's just good, will you?
Oh, I would love him to be just good. But if he would have played against Cardiff and not given that goal away, I would have said he was very good. He was very good yesterday.
I do agree. I do agree with you. hard to disagree with that. Even I'm not that fucking deluded.
Well, I think it's part of what the issue is with him, because we can all see, and I mean, I'd imagine even these biggest haters can see there's a player in there. He just has these lapses in concentration, and he has them all too often.
Yeah, no. Where Mustafi, he's another egg, and I don't want to write him off because I've been talking him up a bit, but he has these lapses in concentration as well. But I don't know if I think that's just Mustafi, like that's always going to be Mustafi.
I agree. I think the best Mustafi's a good player, but you're never going to get the best Mustafi consistently. I don't think. I agree with you on that.
Okay, MW.
On that, can I just quickly say, I mean, this season so far, from off the top of my head, I have not seen any explicit, lapses in concentration from Mustafi. I think I don't want to bash on Koscielny here, but I think in that way, Socrates has been able to, and maybe along with Czech, has been able to structure the defense much more and be a voice more so than Lolo. And look, Koscielny is an incredible player, perhaps one of the best of the Emirates era. And for what we paid, we've got a lot out of him, and there's still more probably to come out from him. But he's not a leader. He's not that individual who's setting up defenses, and he's done it, but he's not that player for me. Maybe Socrates, besides Mustafi, has helped in that regard, where he's helped solidify the defense. And we still will see how Mustafi pans out in the future, but I think he's been a pleasant surprise, one that most Arsenal fans had maybe written off by the end of last season.
I think what the problem was with Mustafi, he was a panic buy to start with. It wasn't long in the window, I think, before we got him, was it? And then
I think it was mid July, end of July, maybe.
No, I thought it wasn't. January.
The season had already started. No, it wasn't. No. The season had already started. Because I remember we were chasing him for ages, and it got to a point where I remember being at Leicester away, we drew 0-0. I remember clearly saying I got to the point where I didn't want him anymore, because I felt if he's that good, we would have just paid the money and signed him, which we ended up doing, but it was in the last week. It was the same time we signed Lucas Perez, last week of that particular window. As I said.
That's right. Yeah, it was with Perez.
0-0 at Leicester. Rob Holding started. We lost 4-3 to Liverpool with Chambers and Holding, and then we drew 0-0 away at Leicester with Koscielny and Holding. And
then because Lolo was injured, wasn't he, for the first game against Liverpool?
Yeah, or he was coming back from the Euros, maybe.
Oh, something. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we beat Watford with Holding as well, and then Mustafi came in after that. We beat Watford 3-1.
So he come with a big price tag. That's
Yeah, 35 million.
Yeah. And we obviously paid overs, but that puts a big target on a player, because obviously people think that 35 million. Well, he's going to be a great player, but he's probably not a $35 million player, is he?
No, he's not.
So
when you're Arsenal, you are going to be overpaying. There is going to be a premium for English football, plus, of course, the name associated with the club. But I think a couple of things that at least bothered all of us on this podcast was, how he would channel his inner Beckenbauer, trying to thread those balls. He has the vision to find those balls, but he doesn't have the execution to. And a bit more safe in some regards, and I think his decision making in that regard has improved. So, credit where credit is due. Just because we've bashed on him all last season, I think he's improved. As you guys said, his best, is it good enough? We don't know yet, but first 5 games in, I do feel a bit more secure with him in the back line than I did all throughout last season.
Mm-hmm. Okay, MAA Gunner, how many players do you think will keep their place for Thursday, Schwinn?
Wow. Montreal, does he start? Because we don't have any other left back. Maitland-Niles is out.
I have no idea.
Kolasinac is unavailable. I expect
Montreal. Yeah, he'll start Montreal. Eh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who else can do a job. Osei Tutu, maybe. I don't know. Maybe Emery gives him a go. But other than that, I expect our defensive line to change completely. Holding, Mavropanos come in, Lichtsteiner at right back, Leno, hopefully we get to see what he's like in goal. Up in midfield, Mohamed El-Neni and Guendouzi, since we'll rotate for the Premier League. Up top, we can expect, from my point of view, Danny Welbeck, Eddie Nketiah, Henrik Mkhitaryan, and maybe Aaron Ramsey, unless I'm missing someone very obvious.
You agree, Tony?
For me, it'll be 0 or potentially 1, and if it is 1, it will be Guendouzi.
Who starts
The
at
only one
Monreal?
that keeps.
Who starts left back?
Monreal's not getting any younger, and it's obviously a Thursday, Sunday. So for me, he'll find anyone. It could be Osei Tutu. He could imagine he might find someone else that he thinks can play there. He may move. Well, actually, he can't move Lichtsteiner over to that side because I'd imagine Lichtsteiner will be playing right back. But I imagine Monreal won't be playing every week because it's going to be the same week after with Brentford.
Yeah, but wasn't there talk there a couple of weeks ago about Welbeck taking the left back position? Maybe he's seen something in Welbeck.
No, so there was a training session. I explained this at the time, but obviously your memory is
I remember it. Don't have to explain it again, but yeah.
So he done one training session there because there was no one else. We needed 4. We needed 2 to field 2 teams against each other in training, and we didn't have any because Monreal and Kolasinac were both out.
Well, I missed out on Iwobi. That's someone who can get a spot up top somewhere across the front 4.
Yeah. I don't think Ramsey will play. I think a lot of what you said is right, but Ramsey will not play.
Yep.
Especially you've got to remember Ramsey yesterday as well.
That's right. Yeah, we don't know what's going on there. Although I did see something that it's not as fearful as Arsenal fans would have thought. That was the headline. So I think he should be fine, but irrespective, he's not going to be available. Well, he's not going to play because Iwobi was the one I forgot.
And I the only other one I was thinking was Smith Rowe. I've seen something that he's been playing really well, so he might get a start there too.
I'd love to see him. Yeah, even Joe Willock, who had a very good game in the Checker Trade Trophy. I think that started against Reading, didn't it, Tony? Coventry, that was the one. So I think Willock had a very good game. Smith Rowe had a very good game from what I read of the match report. So I would expect these players to be involved on the bench and maybe feature, but a start might be pushing it.
They are registered, aren't they?
You don't have to be registered if you're under 21 in English.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, MAA Gunner, if we brought in the right reinforcements, do you think loaning out Bellerin to a defensively strong team would be a good idea, Tony?
I mean, as much as I don't rate Hector, I thought he had a decent game yesterday, actually. We base our whole, well, not our whole, but we base a lot of our attacking philosophy around him, so loaning him out is not going to happen. And the club, rightly or wrongly, see him as a 40 million plus asset. You don't get 40 million assets loaned out, and especially not when you're Arsenal. You might see Barcelona loan out an Andre Gomez or someone like that who people may rate at 40 million, but as an Arsenal, you don't do that. So it's just something that's never going to happen.
Yeah, no, I can't see it happening either. MAA Gunner, people say that having Cech playing from the back is unsettling, but wouldn't it be unsettling anyway for any goalkeeper playing from the back under pressure, Schwinn?
I get what he's trying to insinuate with that question, and yes, any player being pressurized will have a tough time, and obviously Cech is not the most comfortable. What I would like to talk about just a bit is in terms of his long passing when he has to hoof it up the field. I was looking at some stats, and it was 5 for 13. And that's a worry for me because a lot of times Cech will play the ball out to Mustafi or Socrates, get it back, and then just kick it up the field. And in most cases, it's towards Aubameyang because he's the tallest one up there. But we just don't win those balls. And if you're not able to play out from the back comfortably, and if you're not able to kick the ball up front, you don't really have options. And to me, that is a worry. And I'm not quite sure how we're going to grapple with that. Maybe a Danny Welbeck can help, but you don't bring in a player just to be able to win those duels to start build-up. And I'm not quite sure how Emery is going to move things forward. I mean, I think we're going to rely more and more on playing out from the back and trying to only kick it up front when we absolutely need to. But with Cech in goal, the goal remains safe to quite a large extent. But we invite a lot of more pressure, and I think that's the calculation that has to be done. Whether Leno's ability to play the ball out is enough to avoid giving the ball away and face attacks, or do you continue playing playing with Cech because his distribution might not be good, but we are going to face a lot of attacks because of structural issues up the field, and he's going to bail you out. So I think that's the risk reward calculation that's supposed to be done, and I think for now we're going to persist with Cech.
Yeah, I think you're right. We will, but for me, I'm ready for Leno to come in. I know you guys have said that Cech's obviously a better shot stopper, but he's they've both got strengths and weaknesses. If you could have the one, put them together, you'd have a really good goalkeeper. But for me, I think it's going to come back to really bite Cech on the arse. I think what was that one? He tried to kick it over the sideline yesterday and ended up going out in the corner. That's unwanted pressure that we need. He just looks. He looks like he's got 2 left feet when he kicks that fucking ball, and even to Mustafi.
He's left-footed.
He's left-footed.
wrong term of phrase, but you know what I mean. Like, duck feet. He just doesn't look good, and I don't know. So for me, I'm ready for Leno to come in. I think. MAA Gunner, people say that, we just read that, why are the away fans at Newcastle, Tony, closer to heaven than they are to the pitch?
Because as Arsenal fans, we are godlike. No, there's a Premier League rule. It only came in, I think, last season or the season before, that you have to give away fans a section in the lower tier. And Newcastle and to an extent Man United are the only ones that have got away with that. Basically, the police run football. If the police say something can't be done, it can't be done. And whether Newcastle as a football club have leaned on the local police, but the local police have said it'd be unsafe to have people coming out, away fans coming out in that section where all the home fans are. So we get stuck in the upper tier. It never used to be a rule, and we used to get upper tier pretty much everywhere because you're out away, you can't hear the atmosphere and whatnot. But yeah, there is the Premier League rule now, but Newcastle are exempt, and Man United are. But Man United, it's not really a lower tier below you. It's a disabled section, which is only about 5 rows, but it still technically counts as upper tier. Whereas Newcastle is clearly very much upper tier.
Okay. Cosman Buta, does Aubameyang need a fix? If so, how do we fix him? Schwinn?
Play him centrally. I think he has to be played in as a traditional 9. There is a lot of scope to play the 4-3-1-2 as Tony suggested, with both of them up top or Aubameyang on the left, but more so leaning in and finding those half spaces. But we know Emery's not going to do that. He's held the 4-2-3-1 sacred so far, and I think that's what's going to be the go from here on out. But do you take out Lacazette? Do you leave both of them in and let Aubameyang make that position his own? I'm not quite sure how he's going to tackle this. As I said, with midweek fixtures, things might change, but I don't see that changing just yet. Vorskla is obviously not going to be someone where we deploy Lacazette, so Aubameyang comes in as the 9 on Sunday. But I don't see it changing just yet. I think against Everton, we'll see Aubameyang on the left wing, and we'll see Lacazette as a striker.
Schwinn, another 10 minutes or so for you, mate. You'll get a goal from Everton.
I just saw that. Yeah, okay. Happened like 5 seconds ago.
Okay, it happened about a minute or two ago, and while you're talking, I looked up at the screen. I thought, oh shit, they scored. Okay. Cosman Buddha Torreira has done everything he needed to do to get call up the first team or first 11. So, do you think not starting him and snubbing him might actually be tactic from Emery to use his speed use his speed against tired opponents? Maybe that's not a bad, Tony. Not a bad point.
No, I don't. We don't buy someone like him to be an impact player. As I said, and as Schwinn keeps saying, it's how good his link up is with the other players, and how much he's ready for the Premier League. And as I said, I'll be very surprised from now on in if he's not starting in league games. I'll be amazed if he doesn't start against Everton, to be honest.
Okay. Jonas, are we where? Are we? Look, are we expected? Are you where we expected to be after 5 games? Fucking
hell. When you look at the games in isolation, yes, I guess. I mean, City and Chelsea would have always been tough propositions, and 3 games otherwise have been victories. So yeah, I think in a nutshell, yes.
Tony?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement with that. I would like the 1 point against Chelsea or something, but it was always going to be hard against City. So Chelsea, I thought, would have been mainly a game we could have got 1 point out of at best. Who we got? NWLD and Boy. Do you think we should sell Ramsey if Emery prefers holding and defensive midfielders in the middle of the park, Tony?
Look, yeah, if he's going to stay with a 2 and continue to use Ramsey as a 10, I don't really see his value to us. As I said, I would imagine at some point when Emery's settled, that against some teams he'll go over more attacking 2 in terms of one holder and a Ramsey. But at the moment, he seems set on using a deeper 2, and Ramsey doesn't really fit into that. But he sees him as a 10, so there's no point us saying, if he's going to use a defensive 2, he should sell Ramsey, because he thinks he's a good 10. We don't. Well, most of us don't. So what I think he should do and what he's going to do are going to be very different, because we obviously have different opinions on things.
What do you mean,
and he's paid millions to do his job, and I'm sitting on a podcast, so...
What do you mean most?
Huh?
Are you implying me or Schwinn? Who are you implying?
No, I meant as a fan base.
Oh, okay. I thought, fuck, have I said that? I'm not trying to think, that was all. It's just the way you said it.
No, because when you say something and then someone goes, you said everyone says this and I don't.
Yeah.
There's always one.
There's always
just
one.
To say.
Yeah. Oh, fucking hell. Okay. AFC, Grammar Cop, Schwinn.
Schwinn.
Is Schwinn there?
I'm here, but that's not me. I'm telling you.
No, I've got a question from him, mate. What are you implying?
Look, whoever it is listening. So this is the time where you let them know that we know they're out there, and it's not questioning someone from within the family, right?
Yeah. So okay. So we got a question from AFC Grammar Cop, Schwinn. Do you?
Again.
I'm just. The question is coming to you. Do you think bad use of grammar spreads to the players' performances on the pitch? Which Arsenal player uses the worst grammar?
I mean, to be honest, shouldn't you be answering this question, Tez? I mean, clearly it's meant for you.
I mean, you are a master of the art.
I wouldn't have a fucking clue. I don't even read what the fucking Arsenal players write, let alone fucking know what grammar they're using.
Well, you don't know what grammar is in general, to be fair.
I'm fucking hopeless. I reckon if I had to pick one, I reckon it'd be Aubameyang. If I had to pick one.
That's pretty racist.
Oh, it wasn't racist. What the fuck's that come into it? Aubameyang, he's a little bit like, he just comes across as he don't give a fuck. He's happy, go lucky bloke, and he'll just ride it out. That's the theory behind it. Not fucking racist.
I'm just fucking with you.
Who are you going to say?
I'd say Emery.
Wouldn't say Ozil.
No, I'd say Emery. I think Emery would be one of those people who probably didn't give a fuck either. I know he asked for an Arsenal player.
Which Arsenal player? He come up with a fucking manager.
Well, we all know what he sounds like, so he's going to struggle with the English language at the moment. So I would imagine by that accord. I know, and I said, I know he asked for a player, but I can't really think of anyone.
Okay. Tony?
I mean, let's be honest. Most of them, their tweets are done by a PR agency, so we ain't got a clue. I mean, I'm going to go with Yar Gunners Yar isn't perfect English. I I'm also going to go with spelling back on top in emojis. Probably isn't brilliant English either. So
that's a good shout. That's a very good shout.
But as I said, these guys probably don't even have the logins to their Twitter, if we're honest. I don't believe Ozil even knows what Twitter is. He's never slid into anyone's DMs. It's his PR staff or whatever you want to call them. So it's a difficult question to answer. It's also a very stupid question. Schwinn.
Yeah, okay, AFC Grammar Cop. Just fucking ask a better question next time, brother. Hey, Schwinn.
Yeah, okay. I think they should. I don't know. It's not me, so don't look at me.
I'm not implying it's you, bud.
Every time you say Schwinn, though, I'm telling you, this is an opportunity for you to identify them.
I'm talking to you.
Someone's protesting too much here, to be honest.
Okay, NWLD and boy, and just brother, that is the worst fucking. What does it even stand for? That's the worst name you can have, I reckon. NWLDN. Pick something better.
Northwest London.
Northwest London.
Oh, it's shit. I hate it. Aubameyang is clearly ineffective on the left. So who do you start up front, Laka or Aubameyang? Good question, though.
For me, if it was a straight choice between the two, and I know not many agree with this, which surprises me, but if it was a straight choice between the two, it would be Aubameyang. If you do have to accommodate one of them elsewhere, Aubameyang is more suited to playing on the left than Lacazette. So it's one of them that, as I said, if we had a proper left winger, a proper right winger, and say Ozil at 10, and you could only choose between one of the two, for me it'd be Aubameyang every time.
Agree, Shrin?
I wouldn't go completely balls out on that. I think it would depend on the opposition. You know, if the opposition is going to sit deep, which is more often the case, I would probably throw in a Lacazette because he's a bit more comfortable on the ball. His combination plays a bit more decent, and I think if there's either of them who's
going to score against that deep defence if Lacazette's playing on 30 yards out?
I mean, see, you do need runners then, and we don't have the word to provide that, and we don't even have deep runners from midfield.
Welbeck would have to start on the left, then, wouldn't he?
Well, assuming that he's not the one starting, and we start with the 11 that looked quite a lot like the one yesterday. So I mean, there are issues. Deploying either one of them will bring in certain issues. And that's one of the reasons I was saying in January that maybe we shouldn't have bought Aubameyang. I mean, I love the guy. I think he's a world-class player. Probably one of the best players we have. Top 2, definitely. But that's one of the reasons I was questioning if we need to go out and buy Aubameyang when we already have Lacazette. He should have been the first one before Lacazette, or if Lacazette ever even came in, we shouldn't have bought in Lacazette.
For me, I mean, look, he got, 10 and 13 in the league last year, and the vast majority of them against teams that did defend deep. So he's got that poacher's instinct that he'll get goals. He's never going to be someone that's in the game all the time, but he'll get you goals against them teams defend deep, whether it's because his movement's very good or his finishing's very good, whatever it is. So for me, it would be a very easy call. And I know most people don't agree with me, but for me, it'd be a very easy call. I mean, you look at the games he scored. He's actually got criticism for not scoring against the big teams because he didn't score against Tottenham, City, United. But the goals he got Brighton away, Huddersfield away, Stoke when it was 0-0 in the 70th minute. It was him that broke the deadlock, and he got 2. He gets them type of goals. Watford was 0-0 when he scored. Southampton, we were 1-0 down, so they were extremely deep because they were in a relegation battle, and he scored. So I think he's the perfect player to get you goals against them deep defences. As I said, he's never going to look good in the process, but he's the type of player that will never look good anyway, but he scores. His currency is goals.
Well, I'm just going to add on that Lacazette, remember when he come in and we were all, he was getting a fair bit of criticism. Where is he going? He's going missing, not missing, but he wasn't there, and people were asking us questions. How come he's not doing this and that? And it was, I think Tony, you kept saying, it's lack of fitness. He's struggling. And that was, remember when he first started with us? And
it was fitness. Mourinho said it was the reason United didn't sign him is that he wasn't fit enough.
So
I can't say, apart from his early weeks, and that was maybe just getting used to the league, I can't say I've seen much of him not being fit enough, in all honesty. But that was just the theory that was going around at the time. As I said, for me, he just doesn't attack the goal enough. So when you're playing against a deep defence and you're maybe only going to get 1 or 2 chances in the game, if he's not in the box to score them chances, he will look better. Of course he'll look better. He's actually a better footballer than Aubameyang. But I don't want the prettiest team that draws 0-0. I would prefer an ugly team that scores. Aubameyang gets the 1 yard tap-in, which have, as I said, Brighton, Huddersfield, they were both they were inside the 6 yard box, which Lacazette's not going to get you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, Spurs fans call him like a threat because of that very reason, that he's not threatening the goal enough. And again, I agree. You know, this is not me taking Lacazette's side over Aubameyang's. I just think that when we have these two and we will be attacking the Europa League as well, there will be some rotation because we otherwise are not deep enough. And
of course. I was just answering the question if I could pick one up front, who I'd pick. And for me, it's a very easy and obvious choice.
Yeah, and I mean, I understand what you're trying to say, but not for me. I think there will be a bit more rotation, and I understand to a reason why, because a flat-out strategy might not work against every team. I hope it does, but you know, I doubt whether Emery is going to be able to get us together, particularly in the first season.
I wouldn't be surprised we see a change of formation soon to try and get them both up front.
I think he's going to maintain with this, but I think he'll go with what I said earlier, that when Lacazette, they'll work on when Lacazette drops deep, the Aubameyang will sprint in and take up that 9 position, but he'll still play from the left. But I think that's what they're going to work on. And the horrible thing is they didn't work on it in pre-season when they had the most time, because that wasn't Emery's plan at the time. I think now that is what he'll go with. But now they've got to kind of learn on the job, and it's a bit of a shame that Aubameyang went away on international duty, I think. Because, again, it would have been time they could have worked on it. I think that's how we'll continue to play. I think we're going to keep seeing Aubameyang on the left, but we're going to see him, as I said, he done it a couple of times yesterday, and he looked threatening when he did do it, but he hasn't got that balance yet because he doesn't quite know the role. But the more he plays it, the more he'll learn. And as I said, the theory is that Lacazette comes a bit short, one of the centre-backs goes out with him, and Aubameyang runs into that empty gap. And it's something he's well capable of doing, but it takes some getting used to.
But then if you look back at our mids, you know, they've been mixed up every bloody game. You know, Guendouzi, Granit, Torreira.
Yeah, but they're played in their right position. Aubameyang's playing in a different position and being told to do it.
What I was going to say was, you know, what service is Aubameyang, Ozil, Lacazette getting? Like, you just had a look at the first half yesterday. Absolutely zero.
But I mean, the way I'm saying I think we're going to play, the one time we did that, Lacazette came short and Ozil played Aubameyang in, and the ball hit his hip and went a bit wider. If that ball hadn't touched him, he'd have been through 1-on-1, and you'd probably back him to score. So the one time they actually got it right in the first half was probably the only other time we looked like scoring. Lacazette came deep and played Ramsey in, and if Ramsey would have rolled it across the box correctly, then Aubameyang would have had a tap in. So again, Lacazette comes short, and Aubameyang filled the gap. And as I said, they've done it 2 or 3 times yesterday, and they look dangerous, but they've just not had the balance, and they don't really know how to do it properly yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. I'd go Aubameyang up front over Lacazette if I had to choose one.
As I said, if it was if someone said, like, do you know what I mean, you've got your 3 behind you, next week you have to play 1 up top.
Yeah.
I know what Schwind's saying about rotation and whatnot, and I agree with him, but I'm saying if it's just, I'm taking the question as this is a one-off game, you have to choose one of the 2. For me, it'd be Aubameyang without question.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that. MAA Gunner, wouldn't it be easy to terminate Jenkinson's contract, Tony?
There was a reply to this saying leave Gunnersaurus alone, which I found quite funny. So yeah. I can't remember who it was. Well done for that.
David, most certainly.
Yeah.
Most certainly.
Yeah, hold on. Good reply. Tickled me. The thing is, I don't think people realise that when you terminate a contract, unless the player agrees, you have to pay it up in full. So I don't know how long Jenko's got left. Even if it's only this year, I think he's on about 40 grand a week. So you'd just be saying to him, because he's not going to agree, especially if he doesn't have a club, and I think he's injured. So, as I said, you're going to have to just say to Jenko, here's however many weeks left, probably 45 weeks, and whatever that is times 40,000 if that's what he's on. So you're just going to have to go, here, Jenko, here's 2.5 million or whatever it is. I mean, that's not going to happen. You might as well keep him at the club in case you need him in an emergency, or you need him in some Europa League dead rubber when you can't be bothered to make people travel, or you need Gunnersaurus roaming around the pitch. So a contract termination, there's actually no benefit to a club unless a player agrees to... Like, sometimes if a player knows he's got another club, say Jenko spoke to, fuck knows, Reading, and they said, we'll offer you 20 grand a week, and he's on 40 grand a week at Arsenal. He might say to Arsenal, if you pay me 30 grand a week for the rest of my contract, I'll leave now. And then he gets his 20 from Reading, so then he's actually on more. His wages are going up. He's on 50 grand a week. They're never going to do it if they're going to lose money from it. That's the way paying up a contract works. The player has to agree to it, and if you pay up their full contract, of course they're going to agree because they're essentially getting.
How long has he got left? I'm just trying.
I'm
to
not
look.
sure.
I was just trying to look as you were talking, and I wonder how long he's got left on that contract.
Transfer market will be the best for that. To tell you how long he's got left. But as I said, I see this quite often with people saying about paying players up, and I don't know if people know how it works. That's why I've just said that. But yeah, the player has to agree, or you have to pay them up their full wages.
It's 2020, I think.
2020, sure.
Yeah, so you'd have to pay him up 2 years essentially. I know we're what, 6 weeks in the season. Say 2 years, so 104 weeks at say 40 grand a week. If it is, you'd have to give him over £4 million in cash up front. Why would you, when you can just continue paying him 40 grand a week over 2 years? It's going to be exactly the same, but you don't have to pay it in a lump.
Is he likely to come in for this Europa League or anything, you think?
I don't think so, unless Lichtsteiner plays left back, but I can't see the logic in that, because that means Lichtsteiner won't be getting minutes at right back, where he is second choice. Maybe if push comes, I think Jenko's injured anyway. I'm pretty sure he's injured.
Yep.
But if he's not,
November 11th.
Huh?
Return date expected is November 11th, according to Transfer Market.
Yeah, which is also an international. Yeah, as I said, he's out. So
He Canosaurus, fuck me. That is a classic reply, though, isn't it? Okay, boys, we'll touch quickly this game midweek. You got a prediction, Schwinn, and what are your thoughts?
It should be easy. I don't think that there's any particular reason for us to be worried at all. Borskla seems like a small club, and the game's at home. So expect us to be fresh for Everton, and there's going to be a lot of rotation, of course. I will go for a comfortable 3-0 win.
Okay, Tony?
I don't know anything about them. I don't know who they are. I didn't know their name until Schwinn just said it.
I was thinking the same.
My knowledge of them is they're from the Ukraine. That's the start and end of my knowledge. We're going to heavily rotate. I would still expect to win 10-0.
How did you pronounce that, Schwinn? What was it?
I mean, I just went by how it's spelled, Borskla.
Okay.
I think. Unless there's some accents in there.
Oh, mate, I'm not arguing with you. I wanted to hear it again, so I knew that was all. Yeah.
Okay. FC Borskla Poltava.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's what Wikipedia tells me.
I'm sure some cunt will come along and fucking correct you later.
Yep. That's never happened before.
No, it doesn't never happen.
AFC Grammar Cup, paging AFC Grammar Cup.
Miserable cunt. I still can't get over that account. Oh, how sad of a fucking life that cunt must have, eh? Oh, fuck me. Okay, I'm going to say, yeah, we'll heavily rotate. But, yeah, it should win. Whoever they are, I don't know. Looking forward to it. I'd be very surprised if we... Fuck, wouldn't we... What do we do if we fucking lose the game? Fuck. Yeah, I don't even want to think about that. Okay, I'll go... What do you say, Schwinn? 3-0.
3-0.
I'll go 4-0.
Love it.
I don't want to copy you. Oh, while we're on predictions, who got it right this week again? Me and Schwinn, eh?
Yeah, maybe we should go for the same one then, instead of splitting hairs.
I don't know.
Broken clock is right twice a day.
Every time. That's what he says every time.
Yeah, I know. And he just comes up with 10-0. 10-0.
Well, ironically, right twice. So, broken clock's right twice.
That's true, I guess.
Okay, boys.
When do we record next? Do we do something between... Yeah, between Everton?
After the Ukrainians, I guess.
So Friday, you want to roll one out in the week, do you?
Yeah, and then we can touch on Everton and talk about our glorious defeat to FC Ukrainian mob.
Oh, yeah, okay. Righto. We'll do that on Friday then. And then when do we play again? Everton.
Sunday.
Okay.
a week today, now, basically.
All right. Well, everybody gets a fucking bonus this week. Clock and Talk. Two episodes. It'll be three by next week. Okay. Righto, boys.
Yeah, we're getting into that part of the season, by the way, where we'll pretty much have 2 episodes.
Yeah. We try and get it out. So we're rolling up too for 100 episodes. So it wouldn't be. I think it's about 70 something. So I reckon we'll hit that very quickly as well.
Lovely. Maybe closer to Christmas time.
We might. What can we do to celebrate?
Have a former Arsenal player on would be ideal.
No, I'm thinking let's jump on YouTube and do a nudie run or something. Schwinn silence.
I don't know how to reply to that.
Sexy bloke like me. Okay. Anyway, boys, I'm just dribbling on with shit. So thanks again. I'll speak to you boys Friday. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for downloading. You'll follow us at @clockend_talk. You can... Tony deals with that. You can get me at Guna Tez, and you can get Schwinn at AFC Schwinn. Is that right?
Well, I was half expecting at AFC Grammar Cop, but good on you.
No. I've no... No, it's not you, mate. No, it's not. So, anyway, okay. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll speak to you again on Friday. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Adios.